Is Plutarch all there is to citizenship? Not at all. Middle school students in Forms 3 through 4 take up the definite study of their local, state, and national government, as well as turn their attention upon themselves to learn how they are capable of engaging the world and their neighbors. Equipping rising learners, inspiring thinkers, Climbing Higher Math illuminates the path up the mountain of math with live, asynchronous, and self-paced courses. With captain ideas as trailblazers and instructors passionate about the beauty of math as trail guides, every step leads to fresh discoveries and growing confidence. Visit climbinghighermath.com. Welcome to A Delectable Education, the podcast that spreads the feast of the Charlotte Mason method. I'm Emily Kaiser, and I'm here with
Liz Cottrell
and Nicole Williams.
Well, Charlotte Mason tells us children familiar with the great idea of a state in the sense not of a government, but of the people, learn readily enough about the laws, customs, and government of their country. Learn, too, with great interest, something about themselves, mind and body, heart and soul, because they feel it is well to know what they have it in them to give to their country. Nicole, can you share with us what Charlotte Mason used to give children these ideas?
Yes. In Forms 3 and 4, they continue with Plutarch, which was begun just for 2 years before this. And most of the time, the same life was assigned from Form 2A through Form 4. So
yes, everyone's doing the same one.
4th grade through 9th grade.
Fifth grade.
Sorry, 5th grade through 9th grade. Very good. Again, with those omissions. Only occasionally do we see a different life substituted in Form 3 or 4. I'm just not sure that that's really necessary. I think in the homeschool room, I think we're good to just all stick together. Alongside Plutarch, students began reading the first book of Charlotte Mason's book, Ourselves, that she wrote to the children. And then they read that book over the course of 3 years. So a small amount every week in that.
Yeah.
This book maps out human nature and its noble possibilities and its weaknesses so that students can better understand their own character and the part it plays in the common life of their community. It's something we recommend for moms, too.
Yes.
If you haven't gotten to read it.
We all need that.
Charlotte Mason also assigned Form 3 students, so these are your 7th and 8th grade students, an additional book that explored the workings of society and the responsibilities of the individual within it. These included titles such as Social and Industrial Life, The Golden Fleece, Household and Citizen, Who's My Neighbor? So while the exact book varied over the years, the goals remain the same with that. And I'll tell you what we use in a minute. In Form 4, they continue this work with additional books, including such as The Citizen, Days to Remember, The English-Speaking Nations, I don't know how you pronounce this one, Hellas the Forerunner, or Sesames and Lilies. And again, this deepened their students' a sense of history, culture, civic identity. But so instead of using those options, there's a lot of things there I guess you could pull from. But in Forms 3 and 4, we suggest The Young Citizen Reader by Paul
Wrench? I don't know.
I was hoping you'd be able to tell that. But this has been updated by Lisa Ripperton.
Of yesterday's classics.
Of yesterday's classics, yes. So,
and we make that change. Why, Nicole?
Because Charlotte Mason originally scheduled a book similar to this in Form 1A.
2A.
And 2A. I keep doing that in 2A. But in our 5-day timetable, we just did not have room for that second lesson in that grade, at that grade level. So we have pushed that book up to this level. Anything you want to say about that?
Well, also because this is geared more to Americans, right?
Well, yes, we update because we, of course, need these are to give their ideas about their local community, state, and federal
so it's a little
government.
different from the UK.
Absolutely. So we do need a resource that is applicable, but instead of doing the variety that she did at this age, we're giving that foundation that they did not get in 2A that they would have in her programs.
Yeah. So also later in the programs, there was a new element that appeared in Form 3 and 4 called Life and Its Beginnings by Webb. And I just mention it because people often write me and ask about health class. And I always tell them, I really think ourselves covers everything that would be needed in health class, but I thought it was interesting
In a
that this
general
was
way.
here.
Yeah.
That
She saw that more in citizenship.
yeah. Yeah. So that was interesting. So yeah, and it maybe is important to note that was way later, well after Charlotte Mason was gone. So,
Yeah,
I
but
guess
instead of,
take it-
we think of health as more of a science adjacent subject, but she
Right.
considered it more of, because we have duties to keep our body in good order
Right.
to help the
Right.
citizens around
Yeah,
us.
And really, she talks about, the things that maybe are listed more crassly if you look at what is that health requirements for a high schooler nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
She really does cover them.
She does.
But
She
in a
does.
much more
Holistic
yes
way.
Sophisticated.
Yes.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah, it's actually quite
Purity
astonishing what
and
Victorian era
exercise
we
and-
think of as so silent on this that she. I
Yes.
was impressed when I read it. I was like, wow, she's really getting into these issues.
Yes.
Well, okay, so that's the big picture of what these 3 grades would be studying, and we discussed how we tweak what we assign. But the format is one 30-minute lesson, which we suggest using for Plutarch because that's such a meaty lesson, and then one 20-minute lesson. But you'll notice there's, a citizenship reader and ourselves. And so really those, since they're read over 3 years, have such small amounts each term, you can alternate weeks with those in that 20-minute lesson. That works out really well. And we do, well, I'll mention it later, but we do have a forecast that shows how very doable that is. So the individual lessons, again, are very similar to other book lessons. We recap the previous lesson at the beginning. We want to, as a teacher, arouse their interest in what they're about to encounter. They read and narrate and discuss. And just a note, I've said this before, but Plutarch is always read aloud to the students so that we can make those suitable omissions. The only exception would be, an edition that was already formatted with them. And then Miss Drury, who followed Charlotte Mason as over the House of Education, she tells us that ourselves is read, quote, to herself by each girl in forms 3 to 4 without comment. And I should make 2 notes here. The girl in form 3 to 4, because at this age in England at the time, boys were going into university or trade school. And so her amazing programs were for girls. It's just incredible that she valued their minds so much at that time. But without comment, because we don't want to insist on the moral for the child. We don't want to apply that to our own child. This book is dealing with the sacred inner workings of a person. And so we need to give the students space to wrestle with that on their own. The objectives for citizenship lessons at this time, Charlotte Mason tells us that children gather that little code of principles which shall guide their lives. So that's what we're after. We're aiming to give them these principles that they will use for the rest of their lives to make their decisions. So our objectives should be to give knowledge that's fit to fit them, to live for the good of their neighbors and for the good of the world. That knowledge covers knowledge of themselves, ourselves being the primary text for that, knowledge of others. Ourselves is very informative of that, but then we have, far distant others like Plutarch, and thinking about what challenges lie in when we think about society. And that comes through the citizenship reader. So they're getting knowledge of the government and what it means to live together in society. As far as teacher prep, again, I'm going to, if you need a longer discussion of this, you can go back and listen to our Form 2 episode if you haven't. But you need to pre-read Plutarch. It is very challenging, I think, for us who have not grown up with this kind of education to jump right into that and read it cold turkey or whatever we would want to say, just first opening the book. Open and go is not a Plutarch. We should not have that desire for such a thing. I also think it's helpful to forecast the lessons, because otherwise we're going to, like these books that are meant to be savored and really mulled over in small chunks, if we just used how much time we had, we would probably cover them way too quickly. And so really looking at at, okay, this book is spread out over 3 years. How much do I really need to read in a single lesson?
Right.
And then I would say your other teacher prep is be ready for discussion, because this is where the rubber meets the road and your kids are grappling with things that they've never really had to grapple with before, as they're developing their opinions.
And at this form level, they're having higher thinking.
Yes, so true.
At this level, they're really going to be seeing some things that they maybe wouldn't have seen.
Yes,
the last
exactly. As far as resources, ourselves, you can get any Charlotte Mason edition, but I really like these. And because they are such a personal thing, this is something my family has done, is we've gifted volume 1 only to our Form 3 students. And then when they get to Form 5, when they start reading, they can read book 2. But Riverbend Press has published very
Nice
quality
student editions.
things that are going to endure time. They're sewn bindings and in a nice hardcover edition. And then having the books individually bound is such a nice thing. So this is something that I hope they will keep with them and take with them for their lives. Here is the Young Citizens Reader that we were mentioning for American students. Obviously, if you live in another country, you're going to have to find a citizenship book, but it's helpful to look at the table of contents. And this really covers all the things that Charlotte Mason's British Citizen Reader does, but for American students. And this is reprinted by Yesterday's Classics. We have created citizenship breakdowns, which do the forecasting for ourselves and the citizenship reader, for you if you want to save some time preparing. And then I mentioned a lot of our Plutarch resources in our previous episode, but very briefly, Ann White's guides are very helpful, especially for teacher prep. And then the Heritage Press edition of Plutarch's Lives by Thomas North is Thomas North's translation is the preferred translation of Charlotte Mason and many
Preferred
others.
by Charlotte Mason.
Preferred by Charlotte Mason. Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you. And then I also mentioned multiple historical atlases that really help with the study of Plutarch. So if you are interested in looking at those, you can check the show notes for links that we'll just put in, but you can also go see examples by listening to our last episode on Form 2. So,
I think with that Young Citizens Reader, I thought, oh my goodness, this is going to be really dry and boring. I was always surprised at how interested they were in it. Because they've never thought about, why do we have running water and electricity turning on in our house? Because doesn't it talk about utilities and, the mail, and the mail systems and all those kind of things. And just being aware of the difference between one town and another and how they decide to do things. Anyway, I just thought I'd put that plug in there because honestly, local government plays a much more intimate part of our lives, so.
Yes. And we can actually do things to affect change for us and our neighbor.
And this is probably just reinforcing what you guys have already said, but by 7th grade, children are beginning to be more introspective and aware of their body image and observe health and unhealthy people in their lives and wonder, they start having a lot of thoughts that they don't necessarily share. And I just love how Charlotte Mason kind of steps in as their silent aunt who gives them little counsels, about what to think about for their future and all the potentials that they have as a person. Because my goodness, at that age, a lot of children struggle with thinking, how am I ever going to cope with this stuff? I don't think I can do it. And I just think it's beautiful how she presents such an amazing picture of what they're becoming as they grow up. Because that's a hard stage, to move from being a kid to being an adult.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think I'm still in it. And I just like that she doesn't serve it up to them as like lectures, and it just tells little stories and just gets the ideas across. I think the biggest stumbling point at first with kids is the unfamiliarity. She uses kind of this analogy of your body, your person, as a country. And she calls it man soul, which I think she took from Bunyan's book, Holy War, which, by the way, it really helped me to get more into ourselves when I actually took the time to read the Holy War. But anyway, she just gives this perspective of your whole person all the realms and spheres of your life, like there are so many different aspects to a country. And definitely don't try prying out. I think Emily, you pointed this out really good. But children like to have their independence, and they like to have their own personal thoughts. And I think even their written narrations are maybe not necessarily any of your business, I guess.
Yeah, I
at this
actually,
stage.
with my son, his narration notebook has all of narrations from all different subjects, just one after the other, except ourselves is a separate one. And I wanted it to be more like a journal for him to reflect on. And I'm not even reading it yet. Like, I feel like I need permission to read his grapplings.
And there's so much value in writing self-reflection. And I would tell my kids to write it as a diary entry. And I promised them that I would not sneak, peek, poke, or snoop, whatever. So I think that this whole area of the book of ourselves, it's read really slowly.
Yeah.
Over
The whole
5
book.
years over altogether, but in these forms they're just getting through the first book, the first half. But I think it's inspiring to them as a person in a way that social media will never be. She gives such an awareness of their being made in the image of God and their relationship to their creator. I think that is what is most valuable for.
Previous episodes, we've talked about literature, and Charlotte Mason pulls a lot of those characters that they may have read into this book too.
Yeah, especially in book 2.
Yeah.
But she basically starts with their outer self and works her way inward. So by the time they get to the end, they're talking about their heart and their conscience and their will and those kind of topics.
Yeah, and one other practical question you might have if you've got, a 7th and a 9th grader, and your 9th grader, like most of the time we have a new student coming into a book, we just have them jump right in, and I would say Ourselves is not that book, that it should be read sequentially from the beginning through the end, and because it is personal, to really read it on their own.
Right.
So don't combine those lessons.
Yep.
Well, we'll be right back. Are you nervous about teaching algebra to your child? Do you want your student to explore the beauty of mathematics but struggle to see that beauty yourself? At Climbing Higher Math, we offer live, asynchronous, and self-paced upper-level math courses designed to support students and parents alike, all through the lens of Charlotte Mason's methods. Whether your student learns best in real-time discussions, needs the flexibility of asynchronous learning with teacher support, or prefers to move at their own pace with guidance along the way, we're here to help them climb with confidence. Our courses in algebra, geometry, and Algebra 2 with trigonometry bring math to life using captain ideas, thoughtful instruction, and a living approach that invites curiosity and deep understanding. Enrollment for fall 2026 opens in March. Learn more at climbinghighermath.com and find the right guide for your student's journey. Thanks for tuning in today. We have links in the show notes for all the resources that we have discussed this week. We hope you'll join us next time when we will finish our look at citizenship lessons in high school as we continue to spread the feast of the Charlotte Mason Method. If you benefited from this conversation, please like and subscribe. We hope our discussion serves to equip and encourage you as we seek to explain the Charlotte Mason Method. You can find the show notes in the video description or by visiting adelectableeducation.com/episodes. There, you'll find the links and quotes we mentioned in today's episode. We are so grateful for our loyal Patreon supporters who help make this show possible. If you'd like to partner with us in our work here at A Delectable Education, you can join our Patreon community and receive exclusive and early content as our thank you for your monthly support. Find out more at patreon.com/adelectableeducation. Thank you for joining us today. We'll see you next time.